Hi, Darcy McFarland again here talking to you about how we use math in the trades. And so here I am in the construction shop and I have a board, and for some reason I want to make equal lengths, so I want to cut this board exactly in half. Well, how do I find half? How do I find center on a board, right? Maybe you're not necessarily cutting it in half, but you often want to find center for different construction purposes. So center is half. So how do I do that? Okay, well this is 22 and an eighth. All right, so that's how long this board is. So I want to mark center. Well, what is half of 22 and an eighth? Oh, geez, well, how the heck do I do that? Okay, we got fractions, we got whole numbers, we got all kinds of things. So 22, that's an easy one, right? Half of 22 is 11. So we know that it's 11 and something, but we were 22 and an eighth, okay? Whoops, 22 and an eighth. What is a half of an eighth? Well, this gets into some fraction stuff, right? So that means that we've got 1/8 times 1/2 equals 1/16. So we are 11 and 1/16. If I measure that off, I can mark center. So here was just some multiplying of fractions and how that's used in the trades. Now, what is a quick little way to think about that? What you'll often hear tradesmen talking about is just double the denominator. Okay, so I measure quick 22 and an eighth, so 11 and 1/16. I double the denominator. Okay, well, whoa, what do you mean double the denominator? Well, that's what we're doing when we're multiplying by half, right? We're always taking this number, regardless of what it is, and timesing it by 2. And the top just stays, you're timesing by 1, right? So even if this was 22 and 3/8, right? 22 and 3/8, we're still timesing by 1/2. Right? So the 3 is just going to stay the same. We double that denominator, boom, done. We get 3/16. We cut it to 20, or mark it at 22 and 3/16. Okay, so doubling the denominator is this little trick that comes from learning how to multiply fractions by half. Okay? Now we might have to do that a little bit more complex, right? Maybe we're marking this off into thirds, putting some supports on something. I'm not sure, we're not what we're building with this little piece of wood here, but we might have to mark it off into thirds. We might have to divide something into thirds, okay? We might have to do some adding of fractions. What if this was 21, right? So if this was 21 and an eighth, oh boy, now we're getting confused, okay? So what is half of 21? Well, half of 21 is 10 and a half. So now we have 10 and a half, right? Let's say it was 21 and an eighth. Half of an eighth is a 16th, so plus a 16th. Well, what is a half? Okay, well, now we got to get common denominators. Oh, wow, all this stuff we learned in math is coming true. So a half is the same as 8/16. 8/16 and a 16th is 9/16. So if we were marking this in half, it would be 10 and 9/16. Now we've talked about other videos about how our tape measure is measured in increments of a 1/16 of an inch and then reduced down to say things like an eighth or 3/8 or quarter or 3/4 and some of those reduced fractions, which are all 16ths. They're just reduced.